The most time-effective way to get revered heroic keys and Kara attuned on your way to 70 in TBC Classic. With the information revealed at BlizzCon and from interviews since then, we've got confirmation that TBC Classic will be on patch 2.4.3, but the reputation requirements for heroic keys will be the original requirement of revered. Fortunately, this doesn't pose too much of a problem, as the methods in this video will be useful for those who plan to quest, dungeon grind, or a combination of both to reach level 70. So stick with the whole video to make sure you don't miss something useful for your journey to the top. Without further ado, let's get into it. There are 5 factions that provide keys to enable heroic mode dungeons. Thrallmar for the Horde and Honorald for the Alliance unlock the Hellfire Citadel dungeons. That's the Ramparts, Blood Furnace, and Shattered Halls. Cenarion Expedition will unlock the Coilfang Reservoir dungeons found in Zangarmarsh. That's the Slave Pens, the Underbog, and the Steam Vaults. Lower City unlocks the Orkhan'dûn dungeons in Terokkar Forest. That's the Setekh Halls, Orkney Crypts, and Shadow Labs. The Chitauri unlock the Tempest Keep dungeons in Neverstorm, which is the Mekanar, Arcatraz, and Botanica. And the Keepers of Time unlock the Caverns of Time dungeons back on Azeroth, which is the Escape from Durnhold Keep, also known as Old Hillsbrad, and the Black Morass. That provides a total of 14 heroic mode dungeons to farm gear, badges, and rep. Now, if you want the quick and dirty version, the most effective way for you to achieve revered requirement is to hold off completing any quests attached to the factions until you have reached Honored by running their respective normal mode dungeons. So that would be a baseline recommendation to do the Hellfire Citadel, which is Ramparts and Blood Furnace, to Honored, Coilfang Reservoir, which is Slave Pens and Underbog, to Honored, Orkhan'dûn being Setekh Halls and Orkney Crypts, to Honored, and then you've got the Tempest Keep dungeons, which you need a flying mount or to be able to get summoned to reach them, so that would be the Mekanar and Botanica, to Honored. And as for the Escape from Durnhold and the Black Morass, you better get used to the idea of running these a lot, because the quests are a little bit thin on the ground for this faction. So at this point, I figure there are 2 likely approaches players will fall into depending on their personal preference and goals. Group 1 will be dungeons all the way to 70, and then they'll do reputation quests, which at cap will provide increased gold reward. Or you've got people who are going to want to do dungeons until they're honored and then go and do the respective reputation quests with that rep, and then rinse and repeat the process throughout the other dungeons all the way to 70. Fortunately, both of these approaches follow the same information, with the only difference being the times for pulling the trigger on questing. So let's kick it off in Hellfire Peninsula. And of course, before you do, make sure you pick up your mandatory quest at the Dark Portal in the Blasted Lands and then head into Outlands. Complete the introductory quest line up to your faction's first hub, set your Hearthstone, and begin. At this point, start farming Hellfire Ramparts from level 60 to 61. All of the mobs in Ramparts are 60 to 61 and the bosses are at 62. Then at 61, switch to the Blood Furnace, where the mobs are 61 to 62 and the bosses are 63. Now, there are going to be a lot of opportunities for players to make their own choices along the way in this video, and this is the first one. It's your choice to either stop running these dungeons at Honored and head back out into Hellfire Peninsula to quest until level 62, or to keep running Ramparts or Blood Furnace until 62, or if your group is really prepared and ready to head off into Zangarmarsh already after Honored without being level 62, go for it. Whatever route you take, once you hit 62, you want to go to Zangarmarsh and start running the Slave Pens until you're level 63. The mobs in here are 62 and the bosses are 64. Once you've reached level 63, switch to the Underbog and continue here until you hit level 64. The Underbog monsters are level 63 and the bosses are level 65. One thing to note is that there are 3 quests here for the Underbog that are available at 63. One of these quests becomes a repeatable hand-in for Cenarion Expedition rep, and it doesn't reward any XP once it becomes repeatable. Hold off on doing these until once you've hit Honored to get maximum rep gains. So at this point, similar to before, you want to decide between moving on to the next dungeon at Honored, hopping out to do some questing, or to keep grinding the dungeon until level 64 to make sure you're safe. After that, make your way over to Terokkar Forest and head over to Orkhan'dûn for the Mana Tombs. Again, there are going to be 2 quests right outside the instance portal that you could hold off completing until after Honored for maximum rep progress. One of these is also an escort quest that is much easier to complete once you hand in and start the event after killing the last boss of Mana Tombs. Continue running Mana Tombs until you're level 65 or Honored with a Consortium, at which point you can start earning lower city rep by switching over to the Orkney Crypts. And once you've run that enough time and hit Honored, there is no way you wouldn't be level 66 at that point. Again, similar to before, it's up to you to decide if you want to move on, stay and grind, etc. Once you're level 66, head back to Azeroth, go to the Caverns of Time in Tanaris. A little tip for those who are already revered with the Keepers of Time, there's a teleporter in Shattrath City that can take you straight to Caverns of Time. It's an NPC called Zephyr. So outside the caverns, pick up the quest from the Steward of Time Dragon at the entrance and talk to him to fly down. Once you land, hand in and accept the next quest, speak to the NPC and do the tour around, which takes around 10 to 12 minutes. Hand it back in and continue on to Old Hillsbrad for the Escape from Durnhold Keep. As you come up from the instance portal on the inside of the dungeon, there'll be a Blood Elf. Talk to them to start off the quest and double check that you receive the quest items, which are 5 bombs from the Blood Elf. If not, talk to them and you can get some more. Once you get to the keep, you want to head down to the lower area. There are 5 houses that contain quest items that you need to click on to plant these bombs. Once all 5 bombs are planted, the boss will spawn, kill him, and enter the main keep. Make sure you clear all the mobs on your way as you head down towards the basement to find Thrall, accept the quest and escort him to safety, follow the RP with Thrall, head all the way to Tara Mill, keep him safe on the journey, wrap things up with the last boss in the dungeon, and complete all the quests. At this point, it's up to you if you want to continue to farm reputation by spamming the dungeon until you're level 68, or if you're already level 68, it's time to start working on the Karazhan attunement. To kick that off, head right outside Karazhan, accept the 2 quests and do those in Deadwind Pass, hand those in, head to Dalaran in Hillsbrad, then hand that in and head back to Shattrath City. Once you've done that, you'll be asked to go to the Shadow Labyrinth. Run Setek Halls and do those 2 quests from before, and whatever you do, do not forget to loot the key at the end. So whenever you're ready to head into Shadow Labs, clear all the way through, kill the last boss, and then behind him, click on the container to summon a mini boss, kill it, and loot the shard to return back to Shattrath and continue with the next stage of the quest. At this point, you're heading back to Zangarmarsh to go into the Steam Vaults, which coincidentally also has a quest hanging around outside which you can collect and do at this point if you haven't. If you've already done that and you're just there for the second fragment, you don't even have to do a full clear. You can find the container in the pool of water just by the first boss. Now at this point, you're sent after the 3rd fragment, which requires a flying mount to reach, and the Alcatraz key, which gives you a few options for your next steps. If you're close to 69, or you already are level 69, begin to progress your Alcatraz key questline immediately with the goal of hitting 70 whilst you do so, and training flying before the questline asks you to go up to the Tempest Keep dungeons. Now we're going to pause here and talk about some other alternatives that you can choose to do, and then we'll return to this and continue with the Alcatraz key, the Shatari rep, and the Aldor or Scryer rep grind. So in terms of alternatives, you could probably head over to Shadowmoon or Neverstorm to do some questing, and there'll likely be some Prebis reward quest items out there whilst you're at it. You could theoretically go and spam the Black Morass, especially if you're in need of the reputation, but I'd recommend holding off on this and saving it for later because we're going to end up coming back here to finish off the Karazhan attunement anyway. If you really wanted to, you could run the Shattered Halls. There are 3 Alliance quests at Honor Old and 2 Horde quests at Thrallmar that send you into the dungeon and will net you enough experience points to ding level 70. However, to get in, you'll need to either do a short chain quest in Shadowmoon Valley or have a rogue with 350 lockpicking. So now we're going to pick up where we left off and continue talking about the Alcatraz key and finishing off your Karazhan attunement. Now the Alcatraz key is tied to a reputation called the Shatari, and you can gain reputation with them when you hand in items to progress your Aldor or Scryer rep. These items are the Mark of Kil'jaeden and the Mark of Sargeras, the Firewing signets and Sunfury signets respectively. Then there are also Fel armaments and Arcane tomes, which are the big ticket items that when you hand in, provide the most reputation gain. I'd recommend you hold off doing those and stick to the smaller ones for maximum rep gain. Now you might be confused as to why I'm trying to be so precious about the way that you go about min-maxing your Aldor, Scryer and Shatari rep, but the fact of the matter is it can be a really long slog, and if you do it incorrectly it can get even worse, and you want to make sure you can get to your enchants as easily and quickly as possible. So you could farm the Marks of Kil'jaeden, which on average requires about 240 marks to be turned in. I'd recommend farming these at the Bone Waste in Terokkar Forest and have a ballpark drop rate of around 30%. There are also the Marks of Sargeras that you can farm from Legion Hold in Shadowmoon Valley. These mobs are a little bit higher and tougher at level 66 and 68 with a ballpark figure of 25 to 30% drop rate. You could also head over to the ruins east of Area 52 in Neverstorm to farm demons of a similar level and drop rate. Then there's the Firewing signets. Again, you need about 240 of these to hand in, and these drop from the Firewing mobs that are around level 63 to 65 just in the northeastern area of Terokkar Forest. You could also choose to tackle the Sunfury signets from any of the Blood Elves at any of the Mana Forges in Neverstorm, and these tend to be around level 66 to 70 with about a 25% drop rate. So depending on your gear, class and the experience points required for you to hit 70, choose whichever one suits best for you to be able to kill and farm efficiently. Now these items can be purchased from the auction house, but at launch I don't know if any are going to be available, and if they are, they're probably going to be massively overpriced. So really it just comes down to how much gold or time you have and how much of it you're willing to spend. Once you've handed those items in and you've got your Shattar reputations honoured, you can then start working on some quests that will take care of the rest of it. Start off in Terokkar Forest, do the Dread Relic, which is 2 steps for 600 rep, For the Fallen, which is 3 steps for 750 rep, and then I See Dead Draenei for 6 steps for 1110 rep. Then head over to Shadowmoon Valley, do the Journal of Valre Limlib for 2 steps of 650 rep, and the Tablets of Bari, 10 steps at 1000 rep. Then move over to Neverstorm, do the Assisting the Consortium, which is 3 steps for 0 rep, but is a prerequisite for the next quest, which is 10 steps for 3000 rep. Now the final steps on that quest will send you into the Botanica and into the Mekanar, which of course you need to be level 70 and to have your flying mount for. By this point, regardless of whether or not you followed all these steps down to the letter, there is no way you're not level 70. So once you've run the Botanica and the Mechanar, hand in the quests, accept, and then you'll be sent into the Alcatraz for one last time. On your way to the final boss, you'll be able to get the third key required for the Karazhan attunement, and then once you kill the last boss, hand in that quest as well. Now doing those 3 instances should have got you around 5,500 Shatari rep. Along with everything else that you've done so far as well, you should be revered or within a few points. Now if you're really in a rush to get your Shatari rep to Exalted, I recommend farming normal mode Botanica as it has the most rep for full clear. And now it's time to finish off the Karazhan attunement and be ready to raid. Head to Shattrath and hand in the fragment that you found in the Alcatraz, accept the quest, then head back to the Caverns of Time and run the Black Morass. Once you've completed that, speak to Medivh, head back to the front door of Karazhan, hand in, and you're good to go. Of course, there's still plenty left to work on. You could work on your professions, target any quests that provide pre-bis gear from the high-end zones, go and finish quests in Hellfire or Zangelmarsh so that you can make sure you've 100% got your Revere taken care of. And of course, because you're max level at this point, you'll be getting extra gold for handling in those quests. But I think that is enough to cover in today's video, so thank you very much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on the video, and if there's anything else I missed or any extra tips that you can shout out, please put them down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe and follow on Twitch, and I will see you next time. Peace.